Well, you know, I want to do a camera review of this new Xiaomi Mijia, but it's kind of hard to do it when it's really cloudy, so let's take care of that right now. There we go, now we got some sunlight. Now we can check out the Mijia 4K from Xiaomi, and that's coming right up. Alright, so let's take a look at the unboxing experience of the Xiaomi Mijia 4K action camera. It's kind of a no-frills situation, not too much inside the box. Now you've got the instruction sheet, which is very well laid out in English, so it's very easy to understand. Inside the box you've got the camera, a little protective cover for the front lens. Comes with a 1450 milliamp per hour battery, and I'll touch on that in just a moment. And then of course you've got your USB to micro USB for charging. The one thing I will say about this Mijia 4K action camera, now the build quality is really superb on this camera. It does have a plastic front, but the rest of the frame on it is an aluminum feel to it, so I guess it'll dissipate the heat very nicely. Now let's talk about some of the specs that come with the Mijia 4K. Now the chipset on this one is the Ambarella A12S75. Image sensor is the Sony IMX317. It's capable of 8.3 megapixels. The lens on it is a 7-element glass lens. Has a built-in UV filter. Field of view is 145 degrees, and the maximum aperture is an f2.8. And it's also worth noting that this action camera boasts 6-axis gyro stabilization. Now the battery on the Mijia 4K camera, it has a 1450 milliamp per hour battery, which is quite large compared to other action cameras. And apparently the camera will last 2 hours when you're recording in 4K video and up to 3 hours when you're shooting in 1080p, and that's significantly longer than any of the competitors, even GoPro. But you know, with that out of the way, now it's time to take it out for some real-world testing. I'm going to show you 1080p 30 frames per second, 1080p 60 frames per second, 2.5K, and of course 4K 30 frames per second for image quality. And at 4K it does not offer image stabilization, so what I'm going to use is the Evo GP Pro gimbal just to help stabilize some of the footage so we can see exactly how nice the image quality actually is. Now while it's not super sunny today, it's a lot better than what it was the last couple of days. So now it's time to do a little test spin of the Mijia 4K action camera. Right now I'm shooting in 30 frames per second, 1080p, and electronic image stabilization is on, so we're just going to get some shots here at the most favorite place for me to go, which is the duck park. (1080p) 30 frames per second. Walking in the grass, so it's going to be a little bit more bumpier than on pavement. See how it does in the shadows. here underneath these trees. He's a talker. And as always, I'm going to finish up with a quick little audio test while I'm holding the gimbal and the camera. So, quick little audio test, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will say from the initial testing that I did with this camera, I was surprised at how well the audio actually sounded out of this camera. As always, it's time to stick this in the computer, see exactly how good the image quality looks, and then give you my final thoughts on the Xiaomi Mijia 4K action camera. Is it worth it or is it not? We'll find out in just a second. So what's my verdict on the Xiaomi Mijia 4K action camera? I like it. I like it. Given its price point, I think you're getting a lot of camera for the money, considering that it's touchscreen, native 4K. Its build quality is phenomenal. It has a 1/4-20 screw on the bottom, a nice battery drawer. It even has a slide drawer for the charging port to keep dirt out of the camera. And I will tell you, another pro about this camera is its battery life. It will last 3 hours at 1080p. But, well, I'll get to the cons here in a second. So the pros on this, I think the image quality is very, very nice out of this camera in all resolutions. I think the electronic image stabilization is good at 1080 at 30 and 1080 at 60, although you don't want to make any jerky movements. I think that the touchscreen on the back is super responsive, very easy to navigate, so the user interface is very nice on it. Very simplified. On-off shutter button is all one button, so it's very easy to operate this camera. The camera is a little bit wider in width than a lot of other action cameras, but it still fits in a 3-axis gimbal, no problem. Now, on some of the cons, no image stabilization at 4K. I know it's 2018 and everybody wants electronic image stabilization. The audio, while the audio is good in it, it is a little on the hot side. And what I mean by hot is that it will clip a little bit. So you either want to talk a little bit quieter than what you normally would, or at a little bit further distance. Another con is that the battery, even though it lasts 3 hours, this dude takes about 9 hours to charge. And I've tried it with different USB adapters, plugins, because I was like, okay, is it just a bad plugin that I've got going on? But it takes 9 hours to fully charge this battery from being dead. That may be a little bit of a deal breaker for some people unless you pick up an extra battery, which I don't know if they're available yet, but if they are, I'll put a link in the description below. But all in all, I mean, you know, for under $90, a native 4K action camera with the Ambarella A12 chipset, a nice Sony sensor, to me, it performs really nicely if you're on a budget. I mean, for under $100, you're getting something that you can drop on the table from a few inches and not worry about it, the plastic just crack on it. This is a very substantial feeling camera when you have it in your hand. So all in all, I definitely like the little Mijia 4K. I'll do some more comparison videos with it, but this is just kind of a first look at the action camera. So the Xiaomi Mijia 4K, native 4K action camera. Yes, I like it. I'll give it a thumbs up. I'll even give it a thumbs and a half up just because it doesn't have electronic image stabilization at 4K. But other than that, I think it's a great camera all the way around. What I'll do is I'll put a product link in the description below so that you guys can check it out. It's on sale at GearBest right now, and I'll put that product link in, so if I find a coupon code, I'll actually add that in with it as well. By the way, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. I review everything tech. If it takes a battery or it plugs in the wall or it has any type of electricity running through it, I'm going to review it. Hope you guys have yourself a great day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.